this will really harm people on the ground, producers in the United States, in the European Union, and specifically also people in the countries of the Global South. And this is really a mess and unfair practices of the United States. Secondly, President Trump called it Liberation Day, and I will call it Inflation Day, because it's totally clear that these tariffs will increase prices in the United States, and I guess regarding the tariff situation also in the European Union. And we saw it in the example of steel and aluminium. This is then, of course, not appropriate in this economic situation. And regarding the justification, I took yesterday night my time to read this booklet about the justification. And I have to say, you find 30 pages about the European Union and more or less a comprehensive overview of all our legislation. And this gives a clear indication that President Trump is not really looking on tariffs, because the average tariff between European Union and US is 5%, so much below the 20%. And if you took the real volume of trade on this tariff, because we have a lot of products also tariff-free, we are round about 1.52%. The justification of this 39% and generously 20% is just European legislation. Standards for consumer protection, chemical rights, and of course also our legislation in the digital area. And this is of course not the ground for negotiation. Legislation is covering producers inside the European Union and outside the European Union to protect our industry and the consumer and people on the ground. And this, I think we have to make quite clear. Thirdly, it is really a mess that it was not possible to have some really constructive talks. Maros Šefčovič was twice in the last 2 weeks in Washington. We had a lot of video contacts. Unfortunately, also linked to the government structure in the United States, it was not possible to organize some talks with the Secretary of Commerce and the USTR on tariffs, on the deficit on goods. By the way, we have also deficits on services on the European side. It was not possible, and that's really a mess. The structure at the moment in the United States is totally clear. Trade and migration is only in the hand of the President and Peter Navarro. And until they are not able to and willing to negotiate, negotiations are not possible. And that's really a mess. We, of course, always try, and we will try also after the announcement, after the tariffs will come into force. Fourthly, we have a very well-developed toolbox to react. We have a modernization of the enforcement regulation, we have the anti-coercion instrument and some other elements as well, and we will use them. The first point will be on the 14th of April, the reaction towards the illegal tariffs on steel and aluminium, and a lot of products like fitness devices and fishery devices. So these two examples are making clear that these elements are not really harming the national interests of the United States. So that's also not in line with proper cooperation. That's also an illegal act. And we will have a second tranche a little bit later, because we have to analyze the effect of the announced tariffs, because it's totally clear the principle of our countermeasures. We want really to limit our countermeasures to the real, harm we got, the real damage. We would not go further, so we are not the engine of escalation. And secondly, we will have also to look that we really limit the damage for the European Union and the consumer inside the European Union. So that, therefore, it will take a little bit of time.